Sherry is the lead character, and it's very clear from their relationship that it goes back many years. They have a rapport that indicates they've known each other for, decades. They have this kind of at ease, they can be honest with each other. So she's the stable best friend to Sherry's kind of, craziness. I think Danny is the consistent one in Sherry's life. She's the only one who Sherry consistently sees and has been in her life probably since high school, in my mind. She lives with her boyfriend, she's got an apartment, she's got a regular job. In a way, she's kind of all the things that Sherry isn't. Caroline and I only met once before we started filming, so I think I had to go do the filming between a couple of other things. So I showed up the day that I showed up. Her and I had dinner, and then we were filming the next day. But we just immediately got along, and so we just kind of fell into that rapport, really quickly and easily. And I had certainly filled in a kind of story in the back of my mind, and then we talked about it the night before. So in my mind, my character, that they've known each other since high school, and when Danny was in high school, she was probably like a femme artsy gay boy who was kind of like an outcast, and Sherry was also an outcast. I could almost see her as a kind of gothy, cool chick, and I can just see the two of them bonding as outcasts. But then as Danny transitions and kind of settles into her life, she becomes quite stable, while Sherry just keeps on kind of spinning outward. But they always have each other through all of this. Trans people are usually the ones who are kind of out of control and acting compulsively and have these kind of crazy lives. The fact that Danny just lives in the same town, she has her work, she lives with her boyfriend, it's kind of great. That's one of the things I really loved about it. That's the part that absolutely fascinates me, because it was a direct offer. Adam just offered the part to me, so he wanted a trans woman in the role. So he said he always saw the character as trans. And so I got the script, and I'm flipping through, and I keep waiting for the trans moment, because that's usually what it is. If I get cast in something, I'm there to be trans, at some point. And I kept flipping through, and then there's a scene when they're in the bathroom. I thought, okay, this is going to be it. Someone's going to say something to me or something, and nothing happened. And so when I finally met with Adam, I'm like, okay, I don't get it. Why did you want a trans woman and then never mention that she's trans? And he said, well, I always just saw her as trans, from the beginning. So it was just in there. He's like, but then I realized, again, she lives in the same town. Everyone knows her. She lives with her boyfriend. It just doesn't come up. And that's so true. Because that's how my life is too. In my regular life, it just doesn't come up anymore. It's a part of who I am, but it's not all of who I am. And people that already know you, it just doesn't come up anymore. So it seemed actually really honest in a way. And I really appreciate that. And it's kind of revolutionary in filmmaking, too. Because, listen, just having a trans person play a trans person is a big step. But now having a trans person play a trans person where it's not about them being trans, we're just a part of the world, is the first thing that I've seen that actually accurately reflects our reality. It is this year. Last year wasn't. It was funny, 2 or 3 years ago, there was a sudden interest in trans people. And so they were going to tell these kind of trans stories, but they hadn't yet caught up to the idea of actually involving trans people. But there were still at least opportunities coming up. I've lost trans acting roles to men. Yeah, because still to this day, when most people, including casting directors and producers and directors, think of a trans woman, they usually think of a guy dressed up as a girl. They don't think of people like me and Angelica Ross and Reen Valdez and Alexandra Gray and Trace Lysette, who have been living our lives as women for many, many years. So we don't fit what they expect a trans woman to look like. And because often we're only written in as these parts that only exist to be trans, they need their audience to visually recognize the character as trans. And so they need someone, so they end up casting a guy to have that visual impact versus one of us, because it might confuse the audience because they might not know we're trans. So And that's another thing that's great about Easy Living, because it doesn't matter if the character, I know the character's trans, but it doesn't come up, so it doesn't matter if the audience knows I'm trans or not. So that's kind of the beauty of it. So there was an interest, and then it kind of last year there was almost nothing. There were almost no roles for trans people. Now this year there's been a bunch, and what I really like about what's happening this year for the first time is several of the roles weren't written for trans characters, but after the scripts came and the casting director started looking, I'm like, oh, well, this character could be trans. Let's do that. I think there's a little interest in like us as a diversity hire and just as like a topical issue, and because we're more on the scene. So and now the casting directors have choices for the first time because there's a lot of us in Hollywood and we all know each other. Like we all like prepare together. Like we go to the auditions together. So I think the producers and casting directors have choices now. So it's definitely getting better. I mean, we still have a long way to go. Like, God bless Laverne, and she's doing all these like really groundbreaking things, and it's fantastic. But she's one actress, like there should be a trans person on every network somewhere. Like, I don't think that's too much to ask, really. I mean, and if I can get on the country music channel, we should have like trans people everywhere.